Hey, everybody, and welcome to Automate It, a brand new show that is combining teams. Kent and Pranav here from the customer success team are joining me to come together and do a special series all about Power Automate and more specifically, RPA. Kent, Pranav, what's up, guys?
Hey, John.
Hey John, how's it going?
Doing well, doing well. Why don't you guys take a second and introduce yourselves to everybody so they can get to know who you are? Kent, why don't you go first?
Sure, yeah. So my name's Kent Weir. I'm a PM on the PowerCat team. So CAT stands for Customer Advisory Team, and we work with strategic customers to ensure of their success. The areas that I'm generally involved in include Power Automate and RPA, as we're here today, also Power Virtual Agents and some AI Builder.
Awesome, awesome. And Pranav, how about you?
So I work with Kent on the same team, and I'll fill up my intro with some non-work stuff. I love to go to hikes, which I cannot right now, so I'm a little bit sad. But hoping sort of the COVID-19 situations kind of evens out and we're able to go hiking. But super excited here to talk about automation and RPA and all the fun stuff.
Very cool. Okay, so we are going to cover various topics every single week. This week, though, Pranav, what are you going to start out by teaching us?
So this week, I am going to teach us how to be a genius in launching command line shells, PowerShells. That's what we're going to talk about.
Okay, awesome. Well, I understand that you have a presentation, a couple slides to share with us, and then you're going to get into a demo, yeah?
Absolutely.
All right, take it away, my friend.
All right. So I'll be sharing some of the best practices or lessons we've learned uh, by sort of seeing how you can use command line prompts and PowerShell within RPA. And before we even get started, it's good to sort of understand why do we need command line or PowerShell support in RPA, given RPA is all about UI automation. So you want to click through, a lot of GUI-based applications. So command line doesn't naturally fit over there. However, it is a key component of an RPA scenario as well. You can sort of use command line to automate a lot of these tasks around sort of generating reports. We have all these legacy systems which are running reports for banks on a remote server, which you might access through an application like Putty, or you might want to launch some PowerShell scripts as part of your RPA solution to do some data parsing. So there are various reasons why you would want to sort of have command line or PowerShell be a part of your RPA story. One of the key scenarios that this is going to enable is around report generation. And so this is an example of a customer that we're working with around automating generation of banking reports in the end of the day. And what the solution is, there is a flow which is going to run every day, let's say at 7 p.m. when the bank closes. And then it's going to invoke a UI flow, which is going to launch an application called Putty, which you can use to log in into your remote server, which is then going to launch a shell where you can run scripts to generate the report, and then you can email the report. So here's an example of how you can use command line in an RPA solution. And I'm going to be covering these tips and tricks around automating command line and PowerShell interfaces. So I'm going to leave this slide here and we'll come back to it later, but let's go through a demo on how you get started with command line and PowerShell with RPA, and we'll come back to it towards the end. How does that work for you, John?
That sounds good. I like it. A good plan.
Perfect. So let's switch over to the Power Automate portal. And this is the portal where you can build your flows. And in this particular demo, we'll be looking at how do you automate PowerShell and command line tools. So you can start with a new flow. Since these apps are desktop-based applications, you will click desktop and say next. You can name this flow. I'm going to name it after John.
I mean, that's a great name for a flow.
And then I'm going to run a script. John, do you have a favorite script that you want to run in PowerShell?
Oh, let's run the lunch script.
Lunch script. I'll call it get date.
Wings. What about wings?
Yeah.
I'll have some like wings script for you, John.
Barbecue
Need
wings.
Yes, thank you.
Let's give it a fake argument wings.
Okay. Right.
So this is an input that we're gonna give it to our script over there, and then the next step is going to be around recording the action of launching the script and running the command. And here you can click Launch Recorder, which is going to launch this app, which you can use to record your steps in the command line. And as a prereq to it, we'll have links to it in the show as well. I've already gone and installed Power Automate UI flows over here. So I'm going to launch PowerShell because this is the app that I want to record. And once it's launched, I'm going to click the record button. I'm going to grab focus of the application here. So you'll see a blue outline coming around the PowerShell screen. I'm going to click. I'm doing a left click on the PowerShell command, so that gets the focus. And then I'm going to use the input, which is my script for ordering wings for John.
Yes.
And I'm going to click where the cursor was blinking. And so you can see now it's sort of typed out all the words. And if I hit enter, it is going to execute the script. And
no wings for you, John.
Oh,
no wings for you, John.
Terrible. Dang.
So I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna go ahead and say done. And I'm going to cancel the PowerShell app. And we're going to go back in the recorder and inspect what was recorded. So here you can see the first steps for launching the PowerShell. It used this application path. You would notice that it's not the application path where PowerShell is, but this is the command line host that gets launched. And it was able to record what was the title of the PowerShell script. So this is how it identifies what apps to launch. And you would see an option called launch application, which is yes, which means that each time you launch the script, it's going to launch an application. It also has an option of no, which means that you can attach to an existing command prompt that was already launched, which is useful because let's say if you have a PowerShell prompt where you're running 6 or 7 commands across different steps of a UI flow, then you can have a single PowerShell instance launched. And then it captured my 2 instances of left click onto the screen. And then this was the part where I entered the input, which was get date for John's barbecue. And then I pressed enter. And so this is the keystroke for enter that was captured. So let's go ahead and run this script for now. So in this case, it looks like John might not be getting any wings.
It's really terrible. I was just started to get interested in PowerShell.
So now it launched the PowerShell prompt, and it's gonna then sort of go ahead. It's gonna execute entering the commands that we recorded, and it's gonna press enter. And so here you're seeing some delay that's happening. This is because it's actually capturing the exact recording that we did. So we did pause quite a lot because ordering wings takes a lot of time. You have to put like barbecue and like, honey mustard.
And you got to double fry them if you want the best results.
And you want to double fry them if you want to get best results. But here's an example of sort of how you could, record launching a PowerShell script.
Very cool.
If you go back to our tips over here, what we learned here is, you can launch PowerShell You might have to change the application path if it's not recorded correctly. You can pass in your script names as inputs. If you're launching new instances of PowerShell, then you can set launch applications to yes. If you're attaching to existing instances, then you can say launch applications equals no. And then make sure you get focus to the PowerShell prompt before you start entering text. So this is where you saw me clicking on the PowerShell prompt.
So what's interesting about this is like just a practical application. Like earlier in my career, I was supporting this like old legacy middleware, and one of our big sort of endpoints we were always like connecting to was SAP that was running on AIX. So I was always having to log into PuTTY to connect to it and to go ahead and look for files and run reports and run transactions and set permissions. But I could actually go ahead now and automate those types of functions using this technology, this capability. And especially me not being sort of a Unix, Linux guy, this would actually help me with a lot of that automation instead of having to learn like Perl and Shell and some of those things. Is that right?
That is true. And then since you've mentioned it, would you like to see a demo on how you could record PuTTY as well?
Let's go for it. Sure.
I'd like to check it out. Yeah.
We're here.
All right. So let's save this. And so we'll try to order wings from a remote server now. And let's launch PuTTY.
SAP, PuTTY. There's wings somewhere around here.
So I'm going to create a new UI flow, which is going to be a desktop app as well. And we'll call it Real Wings PuTTY.
Oh, setting expectations.
Oh, I know. I'm getting excited.
Well, since we are going to a real server, might as well, right? So I'm going to use a new feature which we just released. It's called sensitive text, which is used to mask sensitive information like passwords and stuff. And once you use sensitive text, this information is not recorded in any of the logs, so nobody will have access to it. So I'll put my server name. Real server. And then I am going to add my username, which is not very sensitive. And then I'm going to add my password, which is very sensitive. We're ordering rings.
The password. Let's see if he gets it right on the first try.
I will not, I think. And then I can sort of do a, if you wanted to run any commands over there.
And order wings.
Order wings. Let's see.
I know. There's no wings on this server. Dang it.
Wings. And then wings. So I'll go ahead and say next, and I'll launch the recorder. And so this app, as we sort of just showed you, is going to allow you to record any application. So this recorder is now launched. So I can go to PuTTY over here, and I can hit record. I'm going to hover over the application, see the red border come, click on the app so it gets focused, click on the host name field. Then I'm going to use the server name as my server name here. And then I'm going to click open. And I'm going to say done over here. I'm going to show you a trick where when you launch applications like this, which are launching other dialogues, you can split your app into scopes. And instead of launching this dialog again and again, I'm going to attach to this dialog itself. So I'm going to hit record again. And I'm going to attach to this particular terminal instance. And so that'll happen. What will happen is when the RPA flow runs in production for real, each time you log into PuTTY, it's going to launch this prompt. So it's going to attach this specific application itself. So I'm going to attach this prompt, click to get focused, click on the cursor, say input, username, click on the cursor again. So it's going to type that. The password field is up. So I'm going to say password. So it's going to then type out the password over here. I'm going to say enter. And so now it's logged onto a Linux server. And we can send our command over here to order wings. And we can't get wings over here. Sorry, John.
Two servers,
Still
no
shut
wings.
out.
I know.
So I guess what's interesting about this approach is that, so even though in the test harness, you've sort of provided some sample data, but this is actually data that could live in like another repository, like Key Vault or something like that. And then you could actually sort of pass that data to the automated, to the UI flow. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, you can fetch your sensitive information like passwords and stuff from Key Vault in flows, and then pass it on as sensitive inputs to UI flows, which will sort of make it protected along the way.
Nice. That sensitive input feature is pretty cool. That's I hadn't seen that yet.
You need to hang out with us more, John.
I know. I got to see all the new RPA stuff. It's coming fast. Awesome. Okay, so is this our moment to end today's episode?
I think we should.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
So
get some wings.
let's recap real quick. I'm down with that. Let's recap real quick what we learned for everybody, and then let's. Awesome, Pranav, you got tips up here. That's great. I think first thing is you want to remember to always left click to get your focus. Right. You want to use that sensitive input that's new to protect your information. And Pranav, what other tips would you have for them?
If you're connecting to command line prompts, make sure you're not launching a new prompt if you're going to reuse the prompt multiple times. Make sure you left click on the PowerShell before you start entering text so you have focus. And as a good debugging technique, if you run into errors where the command shell is not launching, try attaching to it first to see if it's able to get focus or not, and then sort of go back and into further debugging. But have fun with automating command line and PowerShell like a genius.
Awesome. All right, you heard it from Pranav. Go try this out. Have some fun. Make sure you like this video. Leave us some comments on what things you'd like to see in the future shows. And make sure to get subscribed so that you do not miss another episode of Automate It.